Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Cynthia Toolin-Wilson, and I'm here with Vince Estrada, learning the critical competency. And we will begin our interview just as soon as we start with prayer. Would you like to start us?
Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege of gathering to share thoughts and and ideas and sentiments about the all-important element of learning and lifelong learning. Please bless this meeting, bless our lives, and especially bless those whose life I may have touched and for sure have touched my life over the 50 years I have had the privilege of being involved in the training business. And we ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. So, so you've been involved in education for 50 years?
Yeah, a little over
Wow.
50 years. In industrial training, I mean, it has been, a business.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, for 50 some years since 1972. So in 51 years, yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
I
You found something you like and you stayed with it.
I don't like it. I love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're very lucky.
It has been a godsend that I found that particular opportunity, professional opportunity, and it has been a life changer for me. In at many levels, in many dimensions, and in 31 countries. So
wow, 31 countries. That's incredible.
Yeah, it has been a real a very important part of my life.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's trained in 31 countries. That's amazing.
And sometimes I feel, there are 168 countries in the world, so I have only scratched the surface of it.
No, trust me, you've done more than scratch the surface. That's interesting.
It has caused me to fly 4.5 million air miles.
Wow.
Which is equivalent to 180 times around the world. I did that arithmetic when I started doing a travel log on my travels, and I said, oh, wow.
Yeah, really. We think of the planet as being so big, but when you start doing something like that, I mean, it's like I just have this picture of my mind as you're going around the globe like this.
Around the equator, which is, yes.
Yeah, that's great. So, what exactly led you to write the book?
Several things converge. That caused me to start. I started writing this book a number of years ago, and I kind of set it aside, and then later on it kind of picked up again. But with several things. Number one is 50 some years involved in adult learning. In a school setting, this was a business, and it was in the industrial setting, but nonetheless, in adult learning. So that was a factor. I wanted to leave some tracks on that experience, particularly since it was not just restricted to the United States. I had the privilege of doing this in 31 countries. That was one fact. The other fact is, along the way, as I was doing this, the discovery or the realization that learning is a process. And I am, by profession, a process engineer. So I got very excited about that. I said, learning is, in fact, a process. It can be measured, it can be controlled, it can be troubleshot, and it can be optimized. And I said, I just like to share my stories about that. And a third factor that led me to write this, it's a relatively small book. It's not a huge tome. It's 100 and some pages. But the third factor that led me is in 2010, at the suggestion of my wife, I wrote my autobiography. And as I wrote my autobiography, I structure that autobiography in three territories. And in engineering terms, express it as a Venn diagram, three circles interacting. And those are my personal life, professional life, and my community life. And so my autobiography structured that way. And as I reflected on that, and I looked at it, and I said, and at the intersection of these three circles and the convergence of the three circles, it's learning. I got to write something about that. So that combination of factors led me to write this humble offering of the principles and practices of learning and a number of specific examples from different countries.
Yeah. So that's interesting how you came to one book because of a Venn diagram. That's you're writing a book.
I'm a fan of Venn diagrams.
Well, maybe I'll have to rethink that.
That's the engineer in me, Dr. Toolin.
Yeah, I understand. But it is an interesting concept because, I mean, we all have a personal life and a family life and a social life and a professional life. And it's like when you think of it, that where all those things meet is where your personality is.
Yes, and I believe that applies to just about everybody who has worked and has a personal life. And independently of how active that person is in the community, lives in a community, lives in society. We pay taxes, we vote, we live in a society. I chose along the way to use some of my skills to work with churches and other nonprofits in helping them with planning for the future. So that's part of my community life. But regardless of that, we all live in a community.
Yeah. And even when you stop, I mean, if you think of work, I worked at Holy Apostles for 28 years, and then I moved on to another institution, Pontifex University. But what I think happens is you have that social life at work, and you go to another place, but the first place has already impacted your personality.
Absolutely.
Permanently impacted it, I think. And then you go on to another place, and it's a similar type of job, but the people are different, and it probably has a different impact. You really made me think here. Thank you. So that's great. I'm going to see myself drawing Venn diagrams now. Just think of that.
The interesting thing about a Venn diagram, particularly a three-circle Venn diagram, is not only each of the three circles. I think equally important, and in some cases, maybe more important, is the interfaces between adjacent territories. It's just a lot happening there. In fact, most of it is happening at the interfaces. For example, the interfaces of personal and communal, or the communal and the professional, personal and the professional. At the interfaces, lots takes place, and of course, at the intersection of all three of them, it's your life. That's your life.
Yeah,
that is your life. My mission statement, I wrote a number of years ago. Excuse me if I'm rambling, but
you're not. I find this fascinating.
Number of years ago, quite a few times ago, probably 30 years ago, pastor of our church says, you need to read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Covey. I read it, changed my life. One of the things that Dr. Covey suggested is write your own personal mission statement. I did. Guess what? My personal mission statement is a statement about the three circles of my Venn diagram.
Wow.
And that is one of the things that contributed to my saying, I need to write some humble offering about this learning thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hence this little book
Mm-hmm.
that Sebastian and I are now reviewing and tweaking and
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's very good at that.
getting it ready
Yeah.
for,
Mm-hmm.
publication.
Gee, now I want to write. Now I want to write a personal statement here. So, but I'm 73, so I think it's really too late to do that.
No,
No?
it is not never too late.
Mm-hmm.
You look at me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm older than you, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going at it as long as the good Lord gives me.
Mm-hmm.
Here is it's a phrase I heard someplace, and it said, "The good Lord has put us on this earth to get some things done."
Yeah.
And I am so far behind schedule that I don't know how long I'm going to be around.
I think we're all behind schedule. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a funny one.
Yeah.
It's true though.
Yeah.
As you get older, you can see more things that you should have done or that you want to do.
Yes.
You know, I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a bucket list, and so-called bucket list, and I didn't get or haven't done, and probably will not do all of the things
Mm-hmm.
in that bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
One of which was in that bucket list is to revisit my country of birth and upbringing, just Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not sure that is going to be a check mark on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes,
I've heard it's beautiful.
I don't want to digress or get off the subject. So,
Mm-hmm. But I have heard it's beautiful. I have one of my medical doctors is the son of a Cuban doctor also, and they came out of Cuba, I guess, around the time maybe shortly after Castro.
In the 60s.
Yeah, yeah. And now they say that they think they can go back as tourists, and they want to. But I'm like, I don't know if that's safe or not. But the thing is that, they talk about the beauty of the country and the people. And, it's unfortunate because those of us who, I've never, other than the doctors and now I've never met Cubans. And it's like,
you won't be able to say that again after today.
Yeah, true. But you can't, you can't just fly down there and, meet people and interact. It's just sad, But they still, you can see when the father talks about it, how much he still loves it. And he's got to be, well, he's older than me.
Well, some of the things, and then going back to the subject of learning, the roots of, if I want to go back, as far back as I can, roots of my learning and the things that ready me, unaware as I was at the time, is the world-class education I received from the Jesuits in Cuba.
Yeah.
That education, and I thank my father, that's my legacy from my parents. That education has allowed me to do, it planted a seeds. Some the next 8 years of my young life is the years I spent as a Jesuit school in Cuba, in Havana. And it's not only academic education that was world class.
Yeah.
Spiritual education and all of that.
Yeah.
Just helped shape who I am. The title of my autobiography is "In a Constant State of Becoming." So that is, it helped me continue to try to be in that state of becoming.
Well, it's true, as long as we're alive.
Yep.
So, Yeah, I just had this world-class disaster in November. My first husband died 16 years ago of cancer, and then last November, my second husband died of
Oh,
heart, liver, and kidney failure. But because of that, I mean, I'm a theologian, so I'm always in church and always doing the,
yes.
theology. But it was the first time I had the opportunity here in Vermont to be in a parish that became my family.
Oh, you're in Vermont now, not in Connecticut.
Yeah, I live in Vermont. My second husband was from Vermont, so he moved to Connecticut for a while, but he didn't like all the hustle and bustle. So we moved up here, and I didn't like all the isolation, but now I love it up here. But starting to, I'm, going to the same parish every day, getting to know the people, and knowing the priest's sense of humor. I mean, the priest has a great sense of humor. He's from the Philippines.
Oh,
It's a little different than American, but American humor. But it's like, that's something that a year ago I didn't have, and now I have this parish family, this parish community. So we always are in a state of becoming.
it is. It absolutely. It is, to me, being in a state of becoming is a very desirable state.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I already got there. No, you didn't, because somebody just raised the bar right ahead of you.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's true.
My wife and I have been, we live in greater St. Louis, Missouri area,
Mhm.
on the outskirts of Missouri, St. Louis. And we've been in the same parish since we moved to St. Louis in 77. So
Mhm.
what that is. And it is a community of faith. And
Mhm.
I remember vividly, I know this is getting away from the subject of learning,
That's fine.
which we want to talk about.
Mhm.
And we had a ministry day, and there was a team that came in, and the priest that came in to train Eucharistic ministers said something that has been etched in my heart and in my mind ever since. He says, "Let's stop going to church." And everybody, yep, whoop. He said, let's just gather in this worshiping space and become church.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh my,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That's brilliant.
It is.
It's brilliant.
Now he's one of my heroes. He's now with the Lord.
Mhm.
He's a great liturgist. So yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, you lead the conversation, Doctor, and excuse my ramblings, but
Oh, I don't think you're rambling. I think you're saying very interesting things.
well, what's the point of being Cuban if you cannot just go ahead and ramble and
Why not?
why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I really yeah, I think that what you just said, the other thing you just said is true. When we think that we've become, we haven't really yet, because we're still alive.
Right,
It's like we
right.
still change.
That's right.
And now, I mean, from the devastation of last November, and you can't imagine the heartbreak of losing two husbands to death.
I
With both of them.
I cannot imagine, but
Yeah.
maybe the good Lord needed some good people, and and he said,
Mhm.
sorry
Yeah.
about that, Cynthia, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
think
they were both good men,
Yeah.
but but I think about how, I mean, obviously being in a parish doesn't repair the heartbreak of losing husbands, but it helps, and it's a new community, that I belong to, and that I know everybody by first name. Everybody takes care of each other. If my car won't start, someone will come along and help. So it is interesting how even life always changes as long as we're alive, and I think it depends on how you look at things, positively or negatively, as to whether you become something good or bad. Like, many widows are grouchy, old, miserable people.
Yeah.
And I'm still full of joy.
And that's God bless you. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
one of the, so as, being in the adult training, it was a job for me. It's a work. It was work. But as I reflect on it, as I move from the professional circle of the then to the middle, and I says, in doing that, small drops in the bucket as they may have been, I may have helped change the lives of some people.
Oh, sure.
And the
Yes.
organizations that they belong to.
Mm-hmm.
And that has happened, even though they probably contributed more to my development than I to theirs. It's a noble profession, and I think that's the reason I stayed. I mean, I'm supposed to be retired 4 years ago, but they keep calling me back and says, "Could you do this? Could you train these people? Can you train these people?" And I said, "Twist my arm."
Well, if you have a gift like that and you can help people, it's good to use it as long as you're up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, age gets all of us, but as long as we can still do things, why not? Because you can help other people.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yep. Is there anything that you like to know about this little book? And again, the book, it's a combination of some technical stuff, but at a very manageable level, but also some non-technical, like we deal in the book with the answer to 10 key questions, and the 10th question is, how do we learn and help others learn with due regard to principles and values?
That's a good question.
And that said, hey, there's some psychological principles at work here that we cannot ignore, and there's some personal values, there are some institutional values, and training is never done in a vacuum. They're always done in a cultural setting, and we have to be aware of that. Otherwise, it will be an exercise in futility.
Yeah. So it's institutional. Give me the three again.
They come with us. There's the psychological value, self-esteem, and it's not my creation. There are personal values,
Sure.
And then there are the organizational values, teamwork and whatever it is, the organization. And in the book, I use the examples of some institutional values from a nonprofit organization that I'm actually sitting on the board right now. I help them with strategic planning, and I said, here's an example of organizational or institutional values that, as we do whatever we do, those are boundaries we cannot cross. Those most respect, as well as the personal values that all of us have, self-esteem and so forth. So it's never done in a vacuum. So that's part of the context of the book. The 10th question, or the answer to the 10th question of 10 questions, some of which are technical and some are not so technical, and it draws from the work of some very, very, very powerful scholars in the business of learning. This is not all my creation, but they have been unknown to them, mentors to me in this the journey of learning. That's why the subtitle of the book is "The Journey of a Practitioner." The subtitle of the book.
So I'm just thinking of these, your psychological, personal, and organizational interaction. And, I was just having a talk with my boss the other day because I just started at this institution last October. And I was at the previous place 28 years. So I was having some success with an issue with some people who were, I think, discouraged. And he said something to me about how did you do that? And I said, because I'm always friendly. You know, so if somebody does something wrong, not morally wrong, but does something wrong at work, you know, in the work process, then I always try to like, oh, gee, I've done the same kind of thing, but we better be careful not to do that again. And I kind of laugh, you know, and by being friendly, I've had bosses in my life that were like, you know, stern, you know, miserable people, you know, and it's that personal rule that I've always tried to treat people the way I wanted to be treated.
Right.
And to be friendly, you know, not like I'm going to let people get away with something, and so, you know, I can see where that would happen. You know, you have an organization that needs particular things done, and, you know, so that's quite an insight you have.
Well, you know, it's an insight that, you know, one of the characteristics of a effective learning process, if I may, is it goes through several stages, but one of the key stages is the reflection on experiences that leads you to add to your knowledge base or modify your knowledge base. And that cycle is what the learning process is all about. You know, so they're reflecting about it, you know. There's a phrase that a lot of people use: practice makes perfect. And I said, almost. Practice with reflection and feedback makes perfect.
Yeah.
Practice without that may make imperfect. Because you may be doing something wrong and nobody tells you, and you haven't thought about it whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
So that's really part of the learning process. An important part of the learning process, the reflective part. And I learned a lesson on that when I end up teaching myself a third language. That reflection came in powerfully important in that, you know, when I was teaching myself, which I had to for work reasons, for business reasons. I had to train. That's one of the 8 anecdotes and included in the book. I had to train 350 people in a company on learning how to learn in Portuguese.
Oh dear. And you didn't speak it at the time?
No, but I was fluent in Spanish, so I could leverage that. But I said, I'm gonna put to the test this learning process that I talk about, put it to the test, and it worked. And I said, well, you have a facility for language. And I said, no, I have developed a facility for learning.
Yeah.
Now, it helps because the roots of Spanish and Portuguese is the same. Part of the learning process is leverage the known to grasp the unknown. And I did that, and it worked. And yes, I was able to train 350 people, not at the same time, in small groups. And it's one of my greatest memories, you know, in all the 50 years. It's one of my favorite countries, my favorite experiences.
Portugal?
No, Brazil.
No?
Brazil.
Where was it? Brazil. Oh, okay. They speak Portuguese in Brazil?
Yes.
I never knew that.
And there is about 10 or 15 times larger than Portugal anyway. I mean, it's a huge country.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've been there. I love
Brazil.
Portugal. Yeah.
It's the only country in South America that does not speak Spanish, speaks Brazil. The Portuguese got there before the Spaniards, and grabbed the largest chunk of land in South America.
Well, that's a little history I didn't know. That's interesting.
We learned those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to read this book. I have to get it.
Once Sebastian and I get through with it in the next few days, and I don't know how long it takes for whoever's going to print it, but it should be coming out this month yet.
Yeah, definitely want to get this.
It's small. I mean, it's 100 and some pages. Didn't want to. A lot of good stuff has been written on the subject. I just wanted to have a reflection of my experience on the principles, practices, and the implications of.
Well, sometimes good things come in small packages, as we say.
I'm 5'3".
Oh. Oh, but I was thinking of the book.
I know that. I'm just kidding.
I know. I'm only kidding you. But yeah. So, I definitely have to get hold of this book because you're saying some things that really resonate with me and I want to know more.
Because you have been in the educational field for a long time.
Yeah.
And what are you doing now at your, I don't mean to term me as an interviewer, but what are you doing? No. What are you in
I work at Pontifex University, which is a entirely online Catholic theology programs. And we give master's degrees and doctorates.
Okay.
And I'm the chief academic officer. No, I'm not. I missaid that. I am the academic dean of theology.
Okay.
Yeah. So at Holy Apostles, for a while, I was the academic dean and then the chief academic officer. But I left there when Bill was dying. So.
Okay.
And got the job online with Pontifex, which really worked well because I could be home and supporting the household.
Yes, of course.
I really enjoy Pontifex because it's I'm meeting people from all over, and we're all they're all learning theology, different types of theology. They're all interested, so it's a great job. Plus, I don't have to leave the house.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a granddaughter who's finishing up her master's in divinity. And she wants to go into chaplaincy. Hospital. At Harvard.
Yeah. Well, really, when you think of it, if you're called to do things like that, there's nothing better you can do. I mean, you're dealing with the ultimate reality. And, so to me, that has, it's sustained me spiritually and psychologically and personally for decades. I converted back in like 1988, maybe. And since I converted to Catholicism, I've worked in it or been studying it and been prepared to work in it. So it's been very good.
Yeah. What else can I tell you about the book that may be of interest to you? And whoever, I don't know what happens to this video once it's done. I guess that's in the hands.
It goes on to the author. Like we have different shows. Like so, mine is author to author. So what will happen is that will go on to my section of Sebastian's website, and people can access it and quite a few people do access the interviews, and you'll have a copy that you can put a copy of the interview, which you can put on your social media.
Okay.
And that will get across. So.
Oh, I'm not sure my family. My wife is just dying to see. Well, tell me about it. Says, read the video. Look at the video. Yeah, I remember we have a very large family. Actually, not a family anymore; it's a tribe. But
that's great.
35, and so most of them can read and so and understand. So anyway, but what else can I tell you about? Small offering that I dared to put out with the help of Sebastian.
So, like, if you were to say what your biggest conclusions were from this, what would they be?
My biggest conclusion, it's a great question. One of there's several, but one of the biggest conclusion is, and I was writing the book,
Mhm.
and I was sending it to some people, knowledgeable people. One of which is a retired professor at one of the universities here. And the comment he made is says, there is a thread that weaves through your book, and I think you should talk more about it, which is lifelong learning.
Mm.
And I said, oh, yes, Jim, now that you mention it. So the epilogue of the book is
Um,
lifelong learning and some suggestions and tips. And the big conclusion for me is learning is not something that ends when you finish your formal education.
oh, no.
Matter of fact, that may be the beginning.
You're right.
The lifelong learning, whether it is in a formal setting or an informal setting, make the best of it. We are in a constant state of becoming. Enjoy the ride. That to me is the biggest conclusion.
That's a great conclusion. I just like that idea, the way you put it, of that we're always in the process of becoming. It's like we're never finished, really.
Never finished. And if the people who are in the sciences and know what an asymptote is, where the curve just hugs the upper axis, and when you think you're reaching it, somebody races that upper axis, and you still have you still have a target to move towards.
Yeah, that's great.
And actually, it's really great because it keeps you, it keeps you alive. It keeps you going.
It keeps you alert. It gives you a reason to do your work.
As long as the good Lord gave us the cognitive skills and still there, and I think He expects us to make the best of it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't, in this country, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the United States, there's a great deal of, I would say, prejudice against the elderly. It's like, as I said, I'm 73. It's not unusual for people to say to me, when are you going to retire? I was having that question when I was like 63, 10 years ago. But it's not any particular person. It's just it's not a normal, I guess it's just a common thread that goes through this life here in the United States, that at some point you have an expiration date for work.
That's right. That's right. And Social Security defines that for you.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, I'm still really interested in stuff. And I know a lot of people much older than me that teach that are still really interested in stuff.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Are you retired? And I said, I am retired, but not retiring.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
You mean, am I drawing Social Security? Yes. Am I retired? No. I don't intend to.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that when, at some point you do probably have to stop because you get, you get forgetful or you get too tired or you get sick. I mean, any of those things. But until then, why would you stop? Yeah. And there's always something new to learn.
That's right. There's always something new to learn.
So
anything else? Or I mean, this is something that absolutely fascinates me.
I can see that. It is a fascinating topic.
It is. And one of the things when I was writing the book, and I did a bit of research on the side from people who are, in fact, the gurus of these things. And there are some in the United States, well known. And in fact, the book includes, at the end, what I call the influencers, the people who are in fact the gurus of that one.
Mm-hmm.
The pictures and what their contribution has been.
Mm-hmm.
In doing a bit of additional research, I found that physically,
Mm-hmm.
the brain
Mm-hmm.
is designed for experiential learning.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I mean, and I read that and I said, assuming that anatomically it's correct, and I'm sure it is, and I said, we've been meant to be learners.
Yeah.
We have been created to be learners.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think we owe it to our creator to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Until the very end. And I suspect,
until the very end.
yeah. And I suspect after we die,
And
you know, and you're resurrected, I think we'll probably continue to learn.
or teach.
That could be, yeah. Teach the newly dead. That would be a great movie. Teach the newly dead. But no, when you think of it, I mean, to see the face of God, that, you know, the creator of everything, has got to be a learning experience, although I've never thought of it that way before. I mean, it's a learning experience you could have for all eternity.
Yeah.
Because you could never grasp all of it. But I mean, that's just an interesting way of thinking of it.
It's in a constant state of becoming, even up there.
Oh, yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Well, there's a definite reason to try to go up instead of down.
Yes. There is.
But yeah, it's you've really hit on something fascinating here, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it has been, you know, I know one of the reasons is why is it taking so long to, it took me a while to write my autobiography. Not that I postponed it, I keep going and on. And and I said, because the reflections of my life, a joy. And I'm enjoying this. And I'm just putting it down on a book. But, you know, the reflections and the same thing about learning, you know.
Yeah.
Because when you're writing this, you remember something else and you learn something else, and it is endless. Now, there's some point as to say, that's it, you know, just release it. Version 1.
I love it. Oh, that's great.
Sebastian is going to see to it that version 1 gets released. It's a very small offering, but you know, I want to share it with a lot of people who made a difference in my life. You know, even unbeknownst to them, people that I was training and made a difference in my life.
Yeah, I believe it. I've had students, you know, I've taught for many, many years, and sometimes a student will say something and it's like, gee, you know, I never thought of it that way.
Yep.
You know, it's an aha moment.
Yep.
Yep. So.
I never thought of it that way. Yes.
Yeah. So. Well, I definitely am getting a copy as soon as it's out.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I hope. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think we're targeting, and I think Sebastian is targeting, certainly to have it before September. I have some things coming up in September. I didn't write this book for any commercial purposes at all. You know, I didn't even know. I just have a friend who's a deacon who used Sebastian to publish his book. And you ought to talk to him. So I talked to Sebastian, and you know.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He published my memoir.
Oh.
Yeah, because we worked together for many years, and now, of course, I do the show for him. Or you could say that he gave me the show. I mean, either way, we both, I think, enjoy it. But he published my pro-life memoir, And I didn't even know if I could write it. It was so miserable. But I did write it, and he did publish it. And I'm happy for that, because I hope that someday some woman somewhere will read it and think twice before trying to have an abortion, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't me. My mother tried to abort me back in 1949 chemically. So I just tell that story because I think, women, think before you do something stupid, you can't take it back,
That's right.
So.
That is right.
Yeah, but he publishes, he must have hundreds of books out there.
I was in his the office that he keeps in the Regali Center here is a center, and that office, he's got a bookshelf, and my goodness,
all the books he published. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So
yeah.
Well,
it's really kind of cool.
And if you are able to, once you read my small book, I would value any feedback you have, any thought and reflection. Because there may be a revision or something. I am after I retired and I was CEO of the company, and then I continued doing work for them. Particularly in the international arena, and they told me, you have just changed from CEO to CTO. What's a CTO? Chief Tweaking Officer.
That's good.
You are forever tweaking the training that you do. And I said, yeah, because each one I do it, I learn something new.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've had a good life, not only professionally, but personally.
My life, that's
very happy.
The end of my autobiography, I remember the line, my life has been undeservingly and abundantly blessed by a God who cannot be outdone in generosity.
Yeah.
End of story.
That's beautiful.
And, so I have a need to continue to try to give. And, part of it, I was just interviewed recently. I'm an immigrant. I've been here a long time, and I'm an immigrant. So I have to be grateful for being able to find a new country when our country was stolen, and the family I have, the wife I've had, married for 62 years, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Better remember.
Yes, you should.
The large family, the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the education I received in Cuba, the Jesuits, the education that my father were able to give me in the United States, and the engineering school that I attended, that I graduated from, thanks to my father's foresight, and thanks to the education I received from the Jesuits. It was accepted a very fine engineering school. And
well, that's good. It sounds like you've had a really good life.
I have.
And you should continue living it to the utmost.
I certainly will try.
Yes.
I appreciate you taking time for this conversation.
Well, I had fun. I don't know about you.
I did too,
Yeah, good.
These things are opportunities and platforms to just share and, and so forth. I think Sebastian is trying to convince me to update my biography and then go ahead and publish it.
Sure, why not?
I just had it printed by printer, and it printed just enough copies for the family.
Oh, okay.
Who might be interested in my autobiography? And he said,
You never can tell. Sometimes you write something and it might just touch one person and have a tremendous impact. So
also the travel log that I wrote about my experiences with each one of the I've been in 30, I've done work in 31 countries, but I've been in 33. Obviously, Cuba, which is my country of birth, I didn't do work over there. And Italy, we went for an event in the year 2000, a family.
Mhm.
So 33 countries.
Well,
And
God bless you.
write your impressions on each one of these 33 countries. And I did a travel log, and
Hmm.
we will publish that.
That's great. Oh. Well, I wish you luck with this book. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think a lot of people will find it that way if they
I hope,
stumble upon it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know who is in charge of this video and whether we're going to be cut off or we're
Oh,
finished.
no, he'll let that go until I hang up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay,
Mhm.
good. You're in charge. Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, so I do think that if there's a way that you can publicize that, you should, because I think that'll be a really popular book. I mean, the things you're talking about are very, very interesting. So.
Yeah, it is intended to be not just for academic or people
Mhm.
in business, but for anybody who's interested in become a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
discovered recently in doing that, I think my wife was the one who was reading the paper, that here in St. Louis has
Mhm.
very fine universities. Washington University here in St. Louis has something called the Lifelong Learning Institute. And I said,
Mhm.
I want to talk to those people.
Yeah. Mhm.
And my wife says, for what? And I said, maybe I can teach there.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there are a lot of people who are starting to think that way. It's interesting because, as I said, many in this country think once you're old, you should just retire and go away somewhere. But others, that usually the elderly like me, I was just accepted where I work to take another master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've always been interested in art, and I know almost nothing about it. So they offer a master in sacred art. So I'm going to take that. And if I'm still alive and well by the time I finish that, I'm going to go on for the doctorate in sacred
Good
art.
for you. Good for you. Well,
I can't wait.
I keep track of you. I found you on, I think LinkedIn. I'm almost sure, but I think that's where I read about your background. Yes.
Yeah. So, so I'll be studying in addition to teaching. So I'll leave one full day on the weekend just to do my studying and enjoying of art.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the priest, I had to get a recommendation from him, and he came over to me and he said, "I can't believe you're still studying." It's like, oh yeah, but it keeps you young and it keeps you interested.
That's right.
Yeah.
It keeps you young. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does. It keeps you interested and engaged, and to learn new things is really wonderful.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And to learn, I help others to learn new things is just as fulfilling, if not more.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I will have, when Sebastian gets the book published, I'll have him send me one.
Sure, of course.
And I'll let you know when I read it.
Yes, please.
I think it's going to be very interesting, I'm sure.
Yes, I would love any feedback. I'm very open to feedback, and there may be a version 2. Who knows?
Why not? Go for it. Yeah. Okay.
So, and I'm assuming that I will be told where to get the link so that I can.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll send it to you.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to close us in prayer?
Yes.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, thank you very much for this opportunity to share our thoughts and ideas and feelings about this all important element of our life, this life-giving, lifelong learning that you have built into us. Help us to continue to be open to the possibilities. Help us to continue to be open to the opportunities to help others be in a constant state of becoming. In the name of your Son, Jesus, amen.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
if you write a sequel or you write another book, make sure you let me know and we'll do another interview.
Absolutely. Love to.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you
So
so
did
much.
I.
Okay.
Okay. You take care.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.